Sthanau Purushavad Krita Brahmani Jivata Jivasya Tattvike Rupe Tasmin Drishte Nivartate Sthanau Purushavad Krita Brahmani Jivata Jivasya Tattvike Rupe Tasmin Drishte Nivartate. Bhrantya. Bhrantya means due to delusion, due to the account of delusion, individuality is superimposed on Brahman, just as a human form on a post. The individuality disappears when the inherent nature is realized. Jivasya tattvike rupe, tattva. The tattva, the word tattva means the essence. When you understand the real essential nature, tasmin drishte nivartate. Nivartate disappears. What disappears? Jivataha. Jivasya. The individuality disappears. Now, it might sound complicated, but it is in very simple terms. There are two things that you should experience. Either you experience a perception of the I and my, or you experience the perception of the totality. These are the two things. There's nothing in between. Obviously, there are shades of gray, but there are two perceptions to life. Either you have the perception of I and my. When you say the I and my, in fact, the next verse also is going to say that. The ahankar, the ego. Either you look at the world from your own individuality or the ego, or you see the perception of the world opposed to the ego is an experience of a totality. And totality is nothing but liquidation of your ego. To the extent that ego is liquidated, it's like I have a concentrated syrup of juice, a concentrated syrup of juice. I can dilute it to an extent where that very syrup gets disintegrated, isn't it? If I put 1 liter of water into that syrup, I could serve 10 glasses of juice. But let's say if I put 10 liters of water into that same concentrated syrup, you might perhaps get some lingering taste of something. It is not pure water. I think there's something is there in it. Did you pour water into any jar which had any juice in it? Because it doesn't sound nice. But just to make it more diluted, put 50 liters of water into that concentrated syrup. What happens to that syrup? It becomes liquidated to the extent it becomes non-existential. It doesn't exist at all. Now you may ask me, sir, why are we talking about this? The fact of the matter is, you as an individual are sandwiched in an environment of totality, aren't you? I am surrounded with the things and beings the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and human kingdom. Am I not a part of it? I'm just an insignificant speck around this, isn't it? You know, the little There's a big parcel of land right opposite the Wisdom Center. Those of you who have come here know it. That particular land, which was actually deserted, so there's a lot of wild growth, including some wonderful old trees, because it's been a long, never anything's happened. And there was a particular neem tree, which actually in the corner of their land, which actually leaned onto the road, almost over covering the entrance to the gate of the foundation building. For some reason, in the process of their clearing of that entire shrubs and all that wild growth, they have decided that this neem tree also should go. So a tree perhaps which took 30, 40, 50 years to grow is no more there. I tell you, it really hurt my heart. Not that I'm attached to that tree, but I believe things could have gone ahead without touching that tree, which meant they had to dig deep with those bulldozers to uproot it. It's something. And literally every day, every time I come, I would see scores of squirrels using them as a line and running around, playing. The number of birds is just so much in sync with nature, with totality. A simple thing like felling a tree can cause so much. The whole perception, some of you who come regularly, because of current scenario are not coming. Once you come, you will see the whole thing is a different perception. It looks so different. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm saying one action of just clearing a few trees, it creates a certain perception, creates a different experience. I can do the same thing. I go into a forest and bulldoze that because there's demand for teak wood. I want pure teak wood. Or I want this demand for tobacco, or I have this demand for coffee bean. So I need that parcel of land. So what do? I go into these deep forests, these Amazon basins. I clear off these huge forests, which has been for hundreds and thousands of years. I clear those forests and just cultivate what I want. But at what cost? What cost? There's so much of destruction we are doing to everything around us. We don't realize it. Are we living a life of construction, or are we living a life of destruction? And wherever there is that act of destruction, the effect is you will be persecuted by the actions. So the fact that only the human race is suffering because of this virus is because of the mindless, reckless, arrogant acts of human. Law of nature is settling its course. You race have to pay the price. You will pay the price. You want to destroy everything around you, law of nature will come and ensure this race will become non-existential. It will become the human race. A time will come very soon. A human race will become, what is the term they use in the animal kingdom? Endangered. Extinct, there's no more. Human race will become endangered. How many people have you not heard? Have you not known? Every now and then you keep getting this loss that you have lost someone near and dear, known, acquainted, somewhere. Why is this happening? And this is not the first time it's happening to the human race. And I don't think the human race has the wisdom to realize the folly of their actions and look back. Where have I gone wrong as a race? Not you and I. There's some awareness of the climate change because humanity is facing. But are people able to think that what are my actions? What is the cause of this? Why are not a single animal that is attacked? They also have livelihood. They're also living. They also have life. But why are they not attacked? The entire animal kingdom is not attacked. Why? Nobody's questioning it. And the human population is 1:infinite with reference to the animal population. 1:infinite. So the percentage of human population is insignificant compared to the animal population. And yet the entire living being is spared, and yet this small percentage is attacked to a point where you feel threatened to even breathe your air, which you have birthright to breathe. Come on, there's something cardinal sin we all are committing as a race. And all that boils down to is ahankar, this ego we have developed. Because this ego is in conflict with the totality, and it is the curse of nature. You're paying the price of your actions. So to what extent can I liquidate this ahankar and ego and try and blend with the totality? What can I do? It should bring in sleepless nights, believe me. If this thought seriously resonates with us, it will bring in certain discomfort. What can I do to be in sync, in harmony with totality, rather than being a thorn in the flesh? The human race has become a thorn in the entire orchestra, the divine orchestra. I go like a bull in a china shop and I'm creating chaos. And all of that, why is that happening? Vedanta is the only solution. This wisdom is the only solution to this problem. Why is it that you are going about conflict with totality? Is because of avidya. You have not realized. You're not realized tattvike rupe. Tattvike rupe means your real nature. You have lost your true nature. You are not true to your nature. You're not true to your dharma. Everything out there is true to its dharma except a human being. And that's the price we're paying. And how does it all start? The individuality is superimposed on Brahman. And the best way of describing superimposed, how do you describe best way of superimposition? I'll try to engage you and ask you, how do you best describe superimposition? Individuality is superimposed as Brahman. He takes an example like a ghost on a post. You project an image, a ghostly image on a post. It's just a post. Suddenly you see the post is walking and talking to you because of a certain optical illusion, isn't it? You impose something on the other. Now the individual is superimposed on Brahman. He says, what's the best way you can describe superimposition? The only person who is very seriously looking at me is Vijay Raghavanji. I'll have to ask him. So I'll clarify that and then move on to others.
Need a little time, Guruji.
Yes, sir.
It's quite a deep subject for me.
No, not like that. It's a deep subject for any spiritual aspirant, because it has to constantly resonate and pulsate. It's not something I intellectualize it and I've grasped it. It's something which we have to. It's beyond. It's a feeling. As I've said, if you really feel it, it gives you sleepless nights. Where am I going wrong? Where am I going wrong? That kind of fundamentally we are wrong. That's what the verse is saying. He doesn't put it in as many words, but there's the spirit we are trying to draw it out of it, isn't it? But I'm not trying to dilute the concept here, but just trying to understand the best way how you can give an example of superimposition.
The only possibly beginning to feel like God, feel like all powerful.
That is the arrogance, you say, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. I'm defining the negative side of it, not the.
Yeah. It is the superimposition brings about a contrasting image of the reality, isn't it? So as he says, the individuality is superimposed on Brahman. So the individual superimposed on Brahman. Brahman has certain characteristics. The individual has certain characteristics. Ego is contrasting, right? Siddharamanji, what is the best example you can think of?
Hariom Guruji.
Hariom, sir.
Two things. One is the film, the screen we see in a movie theater, and another is rope and snake.
Very good, sir. The superimposition of a movie on a blank screen, this white screen. You impose a movie. And the second example, the Shastras, the Upanishads take off is the rope and the snake. Right. Right. Very good example. Anybody else? Yes, GB Garu. Sir, I want to cut short your name, sir. You know, the tongue twister in the Nakadiya.
BK.
BK.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I call you Rao Garu?
Yeah, Bala. You can call
Bala.
Bala Kotishwara Bala. We are students, you know, we are child.
No, I will not do that.
No, Bala is okay.
Right, sure. Please, Chapan sir.
See, we are children of God, Brahman. When we are, what is God's nature or characteristics? What are the gunas and shaktis? That is what we are supposed to have, because we are children of Supreme Father. Supreme Father, what I consider is a Mahan Ananta Gnana Saga. Mahan Ananta Gnana Saga. So I must feel that I must be at least Master Gnana Swarupatma. Master Gnana Swarupa. Then second, when it comes Mahan Ananta Shakti Saga. Shakti, I am a Master Shakti Atma. So third is Mahan Ananta Aishwarya Saga. So we call them, that is Gnana Brahma, Shakti is Ishvara, and Aishwarya is Mahalakshmi as Vishnu. Like that, you know, he is having a character. We are also, because of children, so whatever Varsatva, what we get, naturally it comes to us. So Mahan Anta Gnana Sagar, Shakti Sagar, Aishwarya Sagar, Sukha Sagar, Santosha Sagar, Ananda Sagar, Shanti Sagar, Daya Sagar, Karuna Sagar, Shama Sagar, Prema Sagar. Prema means love is unconditional love, not the what we have, the anything that is all with the five senses what we are. That is not our nature. That is truly we are Brahmin. That is from the. So that is what.
Rao Garu, in fact, you know, you are. In fact, you're taking us into a realm or a journey which is very interesting to understand, because the terms you use, I don't know how many of them follow the entire implication of it, but I can understand. But you're talking in a positive sense. So the influence of the Brahman comes and transforms you in the experience of a human evolution. You know, our spiritual nature. Evolution. Yes, nature, we are true to our nature. Yes.
True to our nature, because we are children of his children of Supreme Father. So naturally, we also have the same gunas and shaktis. So that is what Swarupatma means. That Gnan Swarupatma, Shakti Swarupatma, Aishwarya Swarupatma.
But Rao Garu, but you know, the just coming back to the text, you know, just to give you a general idea. The context of the question, you know, whenever I ask question, I try to clarify it in the context of the discussion. Right. So just to ensure that we are able to justify what the text or the verse or the subject matter we are studying. So just to help so that I'm able to understand where everybody is. So if you are able to think along the context. Now, for example, what you said is a beautiful independent aspect, But the verse says individuality, as I said, is the ahankar or the ego, which is superimposed on Brahman.
That is as long as we are body conscious. As long as we are body conscious, there are five senses. There's all
No,
five.
not just the body conscious, it's the ego conscious.
That's all.
Body.
Yeah.
Body is just a part of the ego. Ego is the larger element which constitutes the egoistic notion one creates when somebody does anything. You know, when you do anything, if there is an ego, that superimposes Brahman.
So all the avidya, because of
correct.
Ego is nothing but the avidya. So once
it is an expression of
you understand our nature, true nature, avidya disappears.
Correct. That's it. Now this is what we're talking. So I was only trying to gain some kind of an understanding of the concept of superimposition. Okay, Ji? Right, sir. Right. In fact, Seetharamanji gave example of the snake and the film. You know, when I left for the center this evening at 4 o'clock, I came here. Strict instructions by the Home Ministry. After the class, don't take anybody's calls. Don't do anything else. Directly come home quickly. Because invariably there'll be some work, that thing, I'm delayed. Because today I am making burger for everybody in the house. So it has to be, yes, Rajima, you're welcome. All of you are welcome. If you can find your way, please, you're welcome. So please come, because I have to bake in the oven. Come promptly. If you come late, no dinner for you. So when Shastras have been talking example of snake and the rope, monotonous example. So superimposition, I only thought of the burger. There's a lower thing and on top of it something comes, yeah. The superimposition. You put one on top of the other, so you don't see what is in bottom below. The top covers the bottom. Rajima, correct example, huh? Burger apdi, you put one on top of the other, and the bottom, what is that? Not seen. Huh? So, Vijayaraghavanji, very sorry. Inga very serious, you are thinking of something, and I am saying superimposition of vegetarian burger. Please forgive me for the example. Huh? Vijayaraghavanji.
Unfortunately, I'm slightly away from you, Guruji, physically. Otherwise, I'll invite
yeah, you're most welcome. Everybody is welcome.
Now, seriously, I was thinking, Guruji, is the self-perception and what we develop gradually image about ourselves is in the same concept?
Could you explain what you're asking, please?
See, we imagine ourselves to be a lot of things. We have our own opinion about our things, and we build up that image, and after that we start believing it fully, and nothing else seems to be anything contrary we wouldn't like to accept.
Yeah.
Is it something very similar to this?
In a relative sense, because from an absolute perspective, the very fact that you have an embodiment, the fact that you're born in itself is not the real self, because it is, you've assumed individuality, isn't it?
It's further building it.
It's further, correct. In fact, you've exactly used the right word in the, I think it's the 35 qualities or the 20 qualities of a devotee or a jnani he uses in the Gita. He says there, not much pride. He says, not much pride. Why does he say not much pride? It's a very interesting construction. Hariji, you can get your hand on that particular quality, Solungo. One of the qualities says not much pride, or not much ego. Why he says is, sir, the fact that you're born as an individual, there is an existence of yourself is in itself separation from the totality. That itself is ego, isn't it? Now, above that, we have created a further ego above the fact that we have an egoistic notion of individual. Therefore, he says, there is not much pride. Much pride is the created ego above the existential ego that you're separate from the self. You're able to conceive what Vijayji has said. The fact that I have separated myself from the self, I have not realized myself, itself is ahankar, ego. So the most evolved person, if he has not realized his self, itself is ahankar. Because he's not the self, he's not the totality. He has an assumption of a limited ego, limited self. Now above that we have got a big fat ego. You know who I am? You know what I am? You know what my status is? Do you have an ounce of knowledge what my caliber is? What are you talking? Whom are you talking to? Do you know? Do you realize it? Are you getting into an argument or a challenge with me? You know, I'm the ego. And the next self-created ego, that much ego, is that which gets knocked off through liquidation. But the ego which is created because of separation goes only upon realization. So when you say a person is very humble, very down to earth, very approachable, it doesn't have the assuming self. It is not that much ego we're talking about. But in the spiritual sense, the fact that you're born itself is ego. Because a person of realization is not born again. He has already become the totality, isn't it? It's just a very subtle concept, just to drive home that point. So the verse talks about the fact that there is individuality is because of it is the non-apprehension of the self. Understand this coinage. Harish, if you could just put the 3 stages. There are 3 stages the verse is talking about. The first stage is apprehension. Okay, first stage is existence and apprehension of the reality. Point 1. Point 1 of the 3 steps or 3 stages. Point 1 is existence and apprehension of the reality. The second step is the non-apprehension of the reality. Hyphen, you put it as a cause. The non-apprehension of the reality, hyphen cause. This is a cause. And then the third step comes is the misapprehensions, plural, misapprehensions to be the world. The misapprehensions to be the world is the effect. Jayama, can you please repeat all what I've said? Have you captured it? Ilya, I can understand your constraints. Just for the benefit, the first is existence and the apprehension of the reality, as Harish has posted it correctly so. Second is not no, it is non-apprehension of the reality, which is the cause. And the third is the misapprehensions, the plural, to be the world, which is the effect. Now, I'll take various examples to explain what this is. Ushama, the first example is in the experience of this satsang now, apprehension, what is the reality? Okay, forget apprehension. What's the reality? Which is a fact, which is existing, is Vinayji is taking class on ATMABODHA.
The session is going on.
Session is going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Mr.
Yes.
V is taking a class. So yeah, that is the reality. He is explaining ATMABODHA. That is the first part, isn't it? That is the reality. That reality is what is for you. The same reality is for Badriji, The same reality is for Vasantama, is for Maniji, is for Vaidyanathanji, is for
Yeah.
Vijayaraghavanji, is for everybody, isn't it? For Rao Garu, everything is the same. That's the one reality. Because
Yes,
what I'm
yes,
speaking, the
yes,
same
yes,
thing is being
yes.
transmitted to all of you. Correct? Huh?
Correct.
That's the
Yes.
first step. You're right.
Yes.
Now, the second step, what is the second step?
Yes, sir.
What is the second step, Ma?
That we are trying to understand the knowledge which is being.
No. Trying to understand. What is second step in the 3 steps? Second step, enna?
Non-apprehension of the reality.
Non-apprehension
cause.
of the reality. The cause.
Reality,
Okay.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
put the
yeah.
word cause aside for a while. Now, what does this non-apprehension of the reality mean?
Does it mean that some of us are not able to comprehend the
Correct.
concept?
I knew you will get it right. That's the reason I came to you.
Because I'm not comprehending the.
What a brilliant coincidence. You're not able to apprehend the very apprehension itself. So there's a mincemeat of apprehension going on here. No, actually, I just going very simple example.
I thought
that,
you identified me because of that.
No.
I
It's
thought
not.
you identified me because
No,
of
I
that.
don't have any such miracle insight in me. I just connected with you so that I am able to convey. In fact, it is one of the most subtlest concepts in Vedantic study. It comes in the very last stages of Vedantic study, this concept comes. So I'm trying to make it very palatable so that we are able to understand, and then we'll expand on it. So first is the existence of the reality, which is the class, Vinayji is taking the class. Second step, we said non-apprehension means, let's say you are some of them who have not understood correctly what was explained. Even though the subject was explained explicitly, clearly, some of you have not understood the non-apprehension of the reality, which is the class. ATMABODHA class, end of the class, some of you are scratching head. What is it that was spoken today? What was it spoken? I can't try to make my sense around it. Second step. Then what would be the result of the second step?
Misapprehension.
No, read it correctly.
Understanding.
No. You are not reading it correctly. What is the third step?
Misapprehensions to be the world.
The misapprehensions to be something else. Okay. Now, what is the misapprehensions here? The misapprehensions will be Ushama's version of what Vinayji said. Tinkima will have Tinkima's version of what Vinayji said. Hariji will have Hariji's improvised version of what Vinayji said. Ashama will have Ashama's version of what Vinayji said. Rav Garu will have Ravji's edition of what Vinayji said. If at all somebody would ask you, what is it that where were you last 1 hour? Oh, I was in ATMABODHA class. Oh, what did he say? And you will give your commentary what was said. That will be the misunderstanding of what you have not understood of what was said. Am I right? Therefore, there is a possibility of 36 misapprehensions. There are 37 people, including me. Exclude me, there will be 36 versions of the concept of ATMABODHA class today. This is the misapprehensions, which is the effect of what?
The non-apprehension of the reality.
Correct. This is what you apprehended correctly. Send person marks to you. You apprehended that it is all because of non-apprehension. You have not understood what was said, therefore you have misunderstood. In simple terms, apprehension means understanding. Something was spoken, I didn't understand, I misunderstood. This is all the 3 steps. First is something was said. Second, I didn't understand. The third, I misunderstood. Now, is it okay with you? Now, I will move on to other examples before I establish concept. Thereafter, it becomes very easy to understand what the text is saying. Okay, before I expand on the examples, I'll just clarify. Tinkima, yes, you wanted to clarify something?
Hari Om Guruji.
Hmm.
I was
Yes, ma'am.
not very sure about this non-apprehension. Apprehension is not fear. You know, I apprehend something is going to happen. So I don't comprehend how apprehension is used in this context.
No, it is not. Apprehension here is used in the sense of not understanding.
So existence.
I don't apprehend what is said. I don't apprehend means I don't perceive. I don't experience. I don't see it. Now I'll take the example my guru used to take. Second example. The first example is this. The second example is you go to a railway station, and as you know how things are in a railway station in a peak hour, it's so busy, chaotic with so many people, and you have gone to the right platform. You know the time the train is arriving, and you want to go and receive someone. And you have gone to receive Mr. Chatterjee. Chatterjee is coming from somewhere, a very good friend of yours. He's going to spend, you're going to be his host. He's going to be a house guest for a few days. So you say, I have a meeting my friend of a long time. I want to go and fetch him from the station. So you go there and you're not seeing him for a long time. The old friend of yours, college mate. Whom are you going to pick up? Mr. Chatterjee. And the train has arrived and so many people are disembarking. And there's so much of chaos, additional chaos to the existence of the already existing chaos on the railway station platform. So many people. And suddenly from a distance, you have gone to the compartment number, you're given S7. It's coming, S7. Oh, bogie 7. You go and stand there and right there. And you think that's your friend because of your image of what you thought he was 20 years ago. And you go and you tap his shoulder and say, hey, Chatterjee. He turns back and says, I'm sorry. What happened? You have mistaken Chatterjee. It's not Chatterjee. You are looking for Chatterjee, but you have seen a Mukherjee or a Banerjee. So Mukherjee or a Banerjee has come from where? From the, okay. I asked this question to Reddy Garu. Reddy Garu, what created the birth of Banerjee and Mukherjee?
Guruji. What created the birth of
Banerjee and Mukherjee?
It's our imagination. We thought it is in a Chatterjee, but it is not the Chatterjee because there are other names also available there.
Not other names, other people. You've created people.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Isn't it? So
Because
the creation.
Sorry, Guruji, he is so engrossed with ATMABODHA today, he's become an Atma and Burger. So two different angles we have been handling the issue.
Sir, I have to somehow convey the subject matter. How
Yes,
do I
I
convey?
really
Tell
want to.
me.
Yes,
I have to, it's not an easy subject matter. So I'm trying
Absolutely.
all possible ways to convey. So just to still, no, burger, I know I'm also hungry, you're also hungry. But putting the burger aside, now, Chatterjee is what? Chatterjee is?
He's the one known.
Known illa, known, unknown illa. Going by the 3 stages, Reddy Garu, where does Chatterjee fit in?
The existence and apprehension of reality.
The existence of Chatterjee.
Yes.
Chatterjee exists somewhere there in the train, the bogie, or on the compartment, on the platform. He's there. That is reality.
Yes.
But, and then what's the next step?
Non-apprehension of the reality.
You have not understood, you have not seen Chatterjee as Chatterjee, you have not understood him. And you're mistaken
Misapprehensions.
The misapprehension comes about of the Banerjee and Mukherjee.
Yes.
So when do Banerjee and Mukherjee disappear?
When we are able to have an existence and apprehensions of reality.
When you see, sir, example, sir, when you see Chatterjee as Chatterjee, there is no Banerjee and Mukherjee, isn't it?
Yes.
All problem starts because of not apprehension, the non-apprehension of Chatterjee. You have not understood it. You mistook him to be somebody else. All right.
Yes.
First is the reality. Second is the non-apprehension of the reality. Then comes about the misapprehensions. There's many possibilities. It is Banerjee, it is Mukherjee, it is Samji. You may say Vinayji also is there. So it doesn't matter whomever you see, but some G's you create out of your own imagination because you're not understood Chatterjee. Now the verse, going by the example which Setuji has given, the Badriji, in the example of the rope and the snake, what is the reality?
Reality is the rope.
Reality is the rope. Then what's the next step?
You don't understand that it is a rope and you call it a snake. So that is the
step by step
superimposition of your.
No. Don't rush. We'll have to break that sentence into two, sir. As you rightly said, you don't understand the rope as a rope, isn't it? There was a rope there from the beginning. You don't understand the rope as a rope. That is point 2.
Correct.
And then after that, what happens?
But then you start assigning names to it, labels to it, which are completely wrong. Okay, so that not understanding the rope is the first step, but then assigning completely wrong labels to it is even worse. Okay, which is the third step, which is a misapprehension, and you create a reality for the world which is completely wrong. So it is worse than not understanding a rope as a rope. It is to delude. If, for instance, if you tell somebody that this is a snake, you're deluding not just yourself, but the world.
But the world is not deluded by your delusion. That's your delusion. You go back running into the house and say, there's a snake, there's a snake, there's a snake. And your mother asks you, where is the snake? Or your wife asks you, where is the snake, man? I saw it there in the backyard there. You know. What snake? Come. You're always afraid of all these things. Your wife takes you, pulls you with you, and you don't want to go. Hey, come, pa. I'll take care of you. You could go with a stick. You say, where is the snake? I saw in the corner there. Just at the turning corner there, it's there. Are you sure? She asks you, what is the description? You give it is maybe 3-4 feet long. No, it was dark brown, blackish in color. And it is also maybe 2-3 inches thick, you know, a very healthy fellow. Then your wife pulls you there and shows you and tells you, my dear, it is not the snake that you're describing. It is actually the piece of that hose. You know, she cut that piece of that hose because it was cut and that water kept, you know, wasted, gets seeping out the long hose. So she cut that section and she threw it there. That spongy 4-5 feet section of that hose she cut and put it there. Which you moment you stamp it, you get the notion of a snake, that same texture of that soft of a stamping of a snake. So that delusion is only yours, not others. Your wife knows it is only the rope or the hose that was there, but you have mistook it to be the snake or to be something else. because you heard of fields being cleared around in the vicinity and people have complained of snakes. So you start associating that to something, you stamp, instantly you start projecting something, which is a misapprehension of the non-apprehension, which is because of the existence. All right, Badriji. Yes, Hariji.
Yeah, I was muted, so I couldn't respond to you.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so this is also similar to the other thing from, I think, Panchatantra. There's elephant and there are blind people feeling around the elephant, and one fellow feels the legs and says it's a pillar, and another fellow feels the ears and it's like a tray or something like that. Another fellow feels the trunk and says it's a rope. So it's a very similar thing. You project your ignorance onto the reality because you don't have a comprehension of the reality.
Correct. In fact, it is tamasic knowledge.
Right.
What is tamasic knowledge? Is out of context, but I'm just saying because you quoted it. Tamasic knowledge is when you take a part to be the whole.
Right.
When I touch that leg of that elephant, I take and I say elephant is like a trunk. The leg of an elephant is like a trunk. Elephant is not like a trunk. I hold the tail of an elephant and say elephant is like a rope. It's a part of the tail may look like a rope, but elephant is not a rope. See, so tamasic knowledge is, in the philosophical context, you define the quality to be the personality.
Right.
A person has a particular quality, and then you say that person is like this. No, the person has a characteristic of this nature, but the person is not that.
Yeah. In logic, it's called the fallacy of composition, where you take what is true of the part to be true of the whole. That's
there's a little disruption. I lost you. Could you repeat that, please?
In formal logic, okay, there is something called, there are various fallacies. One fallacy is fallacy of composition, where you falsely equate the part to the whole. So it's called fallacy of composition, which in Vedanta you're saying it's called tamasic knowledge.
It is tamasic knowledge. Yes. Wonderful. Fallacy of composition. Very right. Right. Okay. All right. Wonderful, Badriji. Yes, Hariji.
Assuming that the world population is about 7.8 billion, we can say that in one Earth, there is 7.8 billion worlds due to misapprehensions. Each one has its own, his or her own world.
Each one has projected a world of their own, isn't it?
Yeah. In one Earth, 7.8 billion worlds.
Yeah. Sir, in the theory of perception, I'm sure you'll remember in the Vedantic studies we do, an ant perceives the world in a particular way, a squirrel perceives the world in a particular way, a bird perceives the world in a particular way, a donkey perceives the world in a particular way, a human being perceives the world in a particular way. Whose perception is right? You go by the ants, and whose perception is right? We don't know. We're only asking questions. That's what we are doing it. Whose perception is right? Ant will say my perception is right because that's my world. A squirrel will say that's my perception, my world. An ant will not go by squirrel's perception. A squirrel will not go by donkey's perception, and you will not go by donkey's perception. You'll say donkey. What a donkey knows, I know better than donkey. Don't we say that? But that theory of perception is a fascinating concept. Someday we'll, perhaps a time comes, we'll expand on that concept of theory of perception. It's a theory, but it's very, very beautiful. As rightly said.
Intrinsic and extrinsic.
The illusion, then it comes into the concept known as intrinsic and extrinsic illusions. That I am myself afraid of getting into subject matter. There's only one man who spoke about this concept, is the great Ramatirtha. He's the man who spoke of it. No other guru in the history of spirituality has ever spoken of it. No scripture. There's a mention in one of the Upanishads, but no other master has explicitly explained how two illusions play, and the illusions that play and cloud the perception of the reality. He says intrinsic illusion, extrinsic illusion. Outstanding. I've told you all, please go online and download this 7 books of Woods of God Realization by the great Ramatirtha. And I will give you all the reference. Hariji, please give us the reference of where intrinsic and extrinsic illusion comes in the Ramatirtha books. Irkama, book irka? Irka Ilya?
I have one book of Swami Ramatirtha. Let me check it up whether we have, but that is not actually, it is the various discourses which he had given. Let me.
Seven volumes, irka, sir.
No, I don't have. I've got only one.
Okay, then I will give you all the reference, and it is something which you could actually search in Woods of God Realization, Swami Ramatirtha, 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 and in his books, all his lectures, he never wrote a book. It was all recorded, and it is all transcribed and captured. And he's only guru who speaks about intrinsic and extrinsic illusion. And I'll give you, I will not guarantee you will understand. There's no guarantee. It is like going through a somersault and roller coaster and gymnastics, all 3 at the same time. Somersaulting, gymnastics, and roller coaster. Imagine doing all 3 at the same time intellectually, you will have no bearing as to what's going on. That is the intricacy of the subject matter. And that is linked to this concept. It's connected. Theory of perception, the non-apprehension, the misapprehension. So it's a very deep subject matter. But as Reddy Garu said, what did you learn today? If your wife asks, I have learned about Burger and Chatterjee, Mukherjee, Banerjee. That's all you say. If you remember these 2, you understood today's ATMABODHA class. Reddy Garu? Okay, da?
Yes, Guruji, I think whatever you said, we have to recall means I have to pick up those words, what you said. Then
2 keywords. Keywords is Burger and Chatterjee. That's all. You will not forget today's class. Okay. Now, I certainly build up. There's a lot more to the concept. I'm short of time. I have not even gone to the example which the verse has given, but you just get an idea as to what is the message. We have taken few examples. Just quick recap of that before we conclude. The first example to explain the 3 stages was that the very conducting of the class. We said that first example. The second example we took was Rajima.
Of the station, Guruji. Burger.
No, not Burger. Hariji, what was second example?
Chatterjee. Station.
Chatterjee. We spoke of Chatterjee. Chatterjee is a reality, and then comes the subsequent creation. The third example, Hariji?
That was third. Station.
No. The first is the class. The second is
the station which had Chatterjee.
Okay. The third is the rope and the snake.
Rope and the snake. Rope and the snake.
The third is the rope and the snake.
Or the hose.
The rope and the snake. Let's stick to that. Was there anything else we took? The fourth is obviously which the verse gives, which is the ghost on the post. And the final conclusion, the message which the verse is giving, Hariji, what's the final message the verse is giving?
When that illusion is dispelled, the inherent nature gets revealed.
We're not talking of revealing, sir. We're talking of what is projected. Like we said, the snake on the rope, Mukherjee on Chatterjee, misunderstanding on what was said by Vinayji. 3 things we said. The 4th is the ghost on the post. Now, what is the philosophy here?
So there is
What is the illusion?
the illusion is a projection of our mind. And then you ascribe that to the
Gayatri Ma, can you put up the verse again, please?
Cause and effect.
Amma, in all the examples we have taken, there is a cause and effect. The cause is ignorance, effect is misunderstanding. Now, in the message the verse is saying is, due to delusion, individuality is superimposed on Brahman. So if you take the individual and Brahman, the individual is the Hariji. What is the individual with reference to the snake and the rope example? The individual is?
The individual has a mind which says snake.
Individual is the snake.
Right.
And the rope is?
Rope is the reality.
Rope is the reality, the Brahman. So write down these 4 examples, cause, effect, and the final communication, what the verse is saying is, the cause is this, the effect is this. And this the 3 steps which explain how these 3, all these 4 examples and the concept fit in. The 4 examples and the concept. So we are using examples to understand the concept. I have not yet explained the concept. I'm only trying to explain the example so that we understand what the verse is saying, the concept. We'll have to come back to it. But take a note, create the category, the cause, effect, the reality, the cause, the effect. 3 steps, and put it in a simple chart. Maybe Gayatri Ma, just for the benefit of everyone, we just create the simple Excel sheet later on and we'll share it with them so that understanding is clear. So the 4 examples and the concept. So the title is reality, the cause, the effect. Under the reality, there is the whatever the reality is, which is the existence, that's apprehension. Under the cause, which is the non-apprehension, and the effect, which is the misapprehensions. And then we go by the order of the examples we've taken and the philosophy. We'll put it in a chart and we'll share it with you all. Please ponder over that, reflect on it. And when we come back, I will take it from where we left. All right.
Possibly the simplest, possibly the Chatterjee example explains it very, very vividly, Guruji. There is a reality of a Chatterjee somewhere on the train. The non-apprehension is that you do not know who is the Chatterjee. Right? But there is a Chatterjee in your mind. And therefore, you create a misapprehension of somebody being Chatterjee. So a Mukherjee becomes a Chatterjee in your mind, but he's actually a Mukherjee. Right? And only when the reality is revealed, when the ignorance is removed, then the reality is, you see that it is not what it is.
Are you are standing all the while there, and I've been searching everywhere. And then you hug each other and say, so nice to meet you after so long. That fellow was right there across the corner there, and you didn't see him. You overlooked him and saw everywhere else. Avidya. See, not necessary with that. It may have struck with you, but the same thing applies to all the examples. The theme is the same. And once you expand that into what the verse is saying, by Joe, it hits you like an avalanche. All right. So please come back. We'll take through the verse. We'll continue when we come back. Okay. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om.